Hate crimes committed in North Idaho. Should you steer clear of this ultra-racist state like the media is telling you should? Well, that's what we're going to talk about next on this week's episode of Living Life in North Idaho. Hello and welcome to another episode of Living Life in North Idaho. My name is Trent, and as you probably could have guessed, this channel is about what it's really like living here in North Idaho, even discussing some of the more uncomfortable topics. So if that's of interest to you, go ahead and tap the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so every time I come out with a new video, you're getting notified. So guys, today we're going to talk about what has been in the news this last week, hate crimes committed in Idaho.
But they start throwing the F-bombs and the N-bombs.
New body cam video tonight giving some insight into alleged racist harassment of U of U basketball players while in Idaho for the NCAA tournament. The incidents are now the focus of a police investigation involving the FBI.
Now, I can tell you that some of these articles that I've been reading are really not up to journalistic integrity, and we're going to go over that. Now, I'm not trying to defend or say that these things didn't happen, but what I am going to do is challenge the media's narrative about what Idaho is really like, give you the history of racism in this place since I moved here back in 1992, what will work to fix this issue, and what won't work. So let's get started. Now, according to the very first article I read, which had very, very little information in it, there was a women's basketball team from Utah competing in the NCAA championship against Gonzaga. Apparently there was not enough hotel space over in Spokane, so they ended up putting them up here in the Coeur d'Alene Resort. Now, the first article did not really say anything other than, hey, hate crimes were committed and there were some racial slurs yelled. Okay, so then more articles start to come out saying that there was one vehicle that had a Confederate flag and he was yelling racial slurs at the team. And then he went and got more people, another vehicle or two, and they came back and followed them and were yelling racial slurs. Apparently, this was very uncomfortable for them, as I can imagine, and they ended up finding hotel space over in Spokane once this occurred. Now, what we don't know from these articles, and even up to today, is we don't know where those vehicles were from. They did not state where the license plates were from. There apparently was no photos or video taken, at least none that has been released. And the media has had an absolute field day with this story. Now, why would they do that? Why is the media coming out saying this stuff without giving us all of the details? I'm sure the details are there, but why aren't they telling us? Well, it's because it's a massive hit piece, right? It's gonna get a lot of clicks. In fact, it's made national news because somebody or a few people yelled out of their truck and intimidated some African American and minorities that were here in our town. Now, I do want to point out, these kind of things only seem to happen when it's going to make national news, when there's a big event. If you remember from a year or two ago, the Patriot Front group was down here during a pride parade that had already made national news because you had some church groups and some militias talking like they were going to do something. And so it had already made the news. Then these guys show up, they get arrested, it makes more news. I don't know why they continue to tell these stories as if we are the only place that struggles with racism in the United States. But it always gets blown into this proportion that it sounds like Idaho is entirely racist. This is where I start to question things. It does not state where those vehicles are from. Doesn't state that they had Idaho plates or Washington plates, because believe me, there's racists over in Spokane too, but it doesn't state that. Apparently there was no video or photo evidence, at least none that they're reporting or releasing, so this is all alleged. And not saying that this didn't happen, I'm just saying that they are not releasing certain details, but the media has already taken hold. The national news has taken hold that this is a racial safe haven, a racist safe haven for people here in North Idaho. And I'm really tired of that narrative. And here's why. Here's the history of racism here in North Idaho. So back in 1992, there were the Aryan Nations up in Hayden. and they had built a compound and had at one time a group up to 100 people. They used to do marches right here on Schumann Avenue for their parade, their day of hate, basically. Now, the media reported that this was basically welcomed by Idahoans, that Idaho is this really racist place, and we all just accept that this is happening and it's okay. But that wasn't the truth. The truth is that companies and task groups, task forces got together to figure out how to combat this in a legal, constitutional, ethical way. So businesses would shut down in Coeur d'Alene, and businesses outside, or in downtown Coeur d'Alene, and businesses outside of downtown would offer discounts during the time that that was happening. And for every minute that they were down here marching, there were people that would volunteer thousands of dollars that would go to human rights groups. That did not get reported in the media, at least not well. Most people had no idea. In fact, when I was a kid and I would travel, I would tell people I'm from Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and they would go, "Oh my gosh, are you a racist?" And it was absolutely ridiculous. So eventually they screwed up. This group, the Aryan Nations, screwed up. They shot at some people that were driving by their compound and their car backfired. Luckily, they were able to be sued. We won, and we were able to take over that compound and actually destroyed the entire compound and put a moratorium on building for 20 years, stating that this place needed to rest. It had had so much hate here, just needed to rest. But again, unless you've watched my other video on this topic, you probably didn't know that history. Now, did we completely eradicate racism out of Coeur d'Alene, out of North Idaho? No, because I don't know how to do that, and neither does anybody else without infringing on the Constitution, destroying and trampling on someone's Bill of Rights, and essentially breaking the law and enacting violence. And that is not a place that we here in Coeur d'Alene are willing to go, because it just leads to more of that. And so when the media talks about this, and the people here that don't want to do anything about it, but they just want to point fingers and say, yeah, North Idaho's super racist, what do you expect us to do other than going and breaking the law and ignoring the Constitution and the Bill of Rights? Everyone has the right to their own opinion, no matter how ignorant or stupid it might be. And they can talk amongst themselves and share these opinions and bask in the glory of their ignorance. But at the end of the day, there are laws in place that prevent them from doing exactly what they did. Now, it did say in the article that the police as well as the FBI are on this case, and they're going to try to figure out who these people were. And I really hope they do, because there are quite a few security cameras on the restaurants and the buildings around here. So I don't think it should be too hard. Plus, people have cell phones, so I'm very surprised if nobody actually recorded this happening. So that's the history. That's what happened. That's the history. Now let's talk about what's not going to work to deal with this issue. It's not going to work to draw more attention to this problem. And I hope the media is listening to this, because you guys are part of the problem. Every time you do an article, do a news report saying that Idaho really hasn't changed and it's still very racist, one, that's inaccurate, and two, you are putting up a signal, a flag for other ignorant racists to go, hey, there's my brothers, there's my sisters, I need to get there. Because, every racist has a Southern accent. I'm just kidding. But you get what I'm saying. If you're putting that out there, you attract more of that. So drawing more attention to it is definitely not going to work. Getting angry and lashing out also does not work. I saw that on Sherman Avenue when I was a kid. I wanted to see what all the hype was about and see what was happening. And I'm glad I did, because I felt the hate. I felt the ignorance. I felt the discomfort of the town going, what are you doing here? How can you possibly hold a swastika symbol thinking that that's a good thing? And so during that time, people would lash out. And you know what? That fed them energy. It made them feel like, yeah, I'm on course. I'm on purpose right now. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. Because they don't have any purpose in their life. If that's your main point in your life, is to hate people, that aren't the same color skin, to hate them for something they can't control, you have no purpose. You have no mission in your life, and your life will lead to sadness and destruction, as we always see that this does. So that doesn't work. Lashing out doesn't work. And the last thing that doesn't work is avoiding the problem or just criticizing it. And I see a lot of that. I see a lot of people that just want to criticize, and they don't really have any substantial evidence. They just go, yeah, it's racist. I've had people look at me. I've had people say things. Well, I talk to people from all over the world because of this channel. It's amazing. And I ask them about that, and they say, yeah, it's everywhere, Trent. It's everywhere. Every place deals with this on some level. But what's important to us is this coming from the top down, or is this the bottom levels of society? And what they mean by that is it in law enforcement? Is it in the judicial system? Is it in the corporations and the businesses hiring people? And is it in the government, in the local government? Now, I hear rumors that there are some political groups that are not outright racist, but apparently behind closed doors, they share their racist opinions and they have been getting into political positions. I can't verify that at all, but here's why I'm not worried about it. There are federal laws that prevent anyone from enacting racial injustices, and they are very well written and very strongly enforced. So yeah, you might get some idiots in there that have some pretty ignorant views, but they're not going to know what they're doing, and they're going to get caught, and they're going to get impeached, they're going to get kicked out, and their names are going to get ruined. But also, if they do feel that way, but they don't bring it into their workplace, that's none of my business. It really isn't. I can't control what's in somebody's head, and I can't control somebody's beliefs, but I can definitely hold somebody accountable for their actions and their decisions and what they do in public, especially when they're in public office. So even if that is true, I'm not concerned. But here's what's really going to work to deal with this problem, okay? What's really going to work is to support the task forces and the people fighting the good fight with your time, with your money, and with your creativity, whatever skills you have that you can offer them. Because there are people actively fighting against this to make sure that this does not come back. And it's not easy. It is a complicated process with laws, ethics, Bill of Rights. The people still have those. Even though you might adamantly hate them, they still have rights to their own opinions and to free speech. They can't be out harassing people and yelling racial slurs. That is a felony, but they can have their opinions. And I will always fight to support that, because the moment you don't, you might win on that fight, but you're gonna lose when they come after something that's near and dear to you. The next thing you can do is correct the media. It might seem small, but we all have a small voice online. And so when you see an article trying to paint this area as this very racist place, all you need to do is post something that says, yeah, not me. Not me, right? Kind of like the Me Too movement, but not me. Hashtag not me. Let's get that started. I'm not a racist, and nobody I know is a racist. And for me, I really have a hard time believing that this is a really racist place. Now, I am a white middle-aged male. What would I know about racism existing in a place? But I do meet a lot of people, and I do know a lot of people. And according to them, it's not. Yes, these people make a splash when it's going to make news, and it seems like a much bigger deal than it is. But I tell you now, this is not a racist place. This is a wonderful place to live. And yes, we have some people with some pretty dang ignorant, outdated views, but that is not what makes up this place. It is a very, very, very small fraction of people. So if you actually want to do something about this that does not take much time at all, tell your story, tell your experience. If you really feel that this place is racist, give examples, give evidence of this racism. So far, I've heard some people say, oh yeah, it's racist, but it's all anecdotal. It's all based on experiences that they really can't tell me if it was based on race, or maybe they just had a bad attitude at their job, and so their employer fired them. I just don't believe it. I believe that we have gone through this period before, and that people are aware of this, and they don't ever want it to come back, and so they are actually actively fighting against it in their own way. But again, it's not enough just to avoid the problem. You have to actually do something about it. And the last thing, which is incredibly powerful, and it's probably your best weapon possible, and it's amazing because we all have them. You're probably using it right now as you watch this video. You have a cell phone that can record audio and video. And one thing I know about racists, they are cowards and they are fearful. They do not want their faces and their names out on the internet, outing them as being a hateful bigot. So if you do come across it, now it might be somebody that you met that you like, and they just start talking to you behind closed doors, telling you that, hey, this is their views. For me, I don't want to destroy that person's life. I just share with them. I really don't understand how you get to that point. This is something that people cannot control. They're not able to change, nor should they. But I've grown up with that. I've grown up with things that I can't fix, that I can't change, and I have been judged for it. And it's not fun, and it's not okay. It's basically the basis of ignorance, blaming somebody for something that is completely outside of their control. And it just makes those people feel like they have some sort of higher place than that person does in this society, when the truth is, no, you don't. So all I say is, I'm sorry, I do not share those views, and I'm surprised that you think I would, but I'm going to need you to stop sharing that if you want to remain friends or be around me. I'm not going to listen to that. Not everybody responds politely, but that's fine. That's totally okay, because I can leave. The only thing that's going to win against this is aiming for the things that we want, not the things we don't want. You don't want them here, so you're going to try to push them out. That'll just empower them. But if we focus on the things that we want, which is love, we want to love each other. We want to love each other for who we are, for the contents of our character, not for the color of our skin. I believe that's what's going to win. Now, there are legal strategies and there are actions that can be taken, but you have to wait for them to break the law before you can enforce the law. Otherwise, you're dealing with a whole nother set of problems. I know this is completely different than most of the videos that I make, but I felt very compelled to share this message because this is important. And I'm going to leave in the description the websites where you can go and donate to the task forces and the human rights groups that are actively fighting against this. And I myself am going to be making a donation. So thank you for watching this video. There's more information about Idaho up here. Give us a call if you are serious about looking at moving here, and if you have more questions about what it's really like living here. Until the next one, I will see you later.